Hello, welcome to episode 2 of the Top 4 podcast with myself, Prendy, aka Tez, aka James, if you're my mum or dad. And as usual, I'm joined by 3 lovely lads. And we're going to talk about a lot of football issues over the next hour or so. So, a quick roundup if you haven't tuned into the first episode. We've got Tony, also known as Nathan, Liverpool fan, in the building. We've also got Jack, also known as Yoki, MVP of the Pro Clubs team. I'm not going to get some stick for saying that, but
he said it.
He was wearing the same football top as Pash, so I let him borrow my Ajax top for this week.
I was going to say, he borrowed that off you this week, did he? Stayed over his house last night, didn't he?
That's why it's a little bit baggy on him. And
it is a bit.
Then we've got the TikTok champion, Pasha Pravsky.
Wow. Don Pablo.
So yeah, I will get straight into it, lads. First episode went well. It was going to be a pilot. But we were very happy with it. We put it out. So thank you to everyone listening to it, and looking forward to keep it moving. So a lot of football on at the moment. Been a little break for the Premier League, but this week we've got a host of midweek games. And let's just talk about a lot. It feels like there's a lot of different storylines. Say storylines like it's WWE, but there's lots of different things going on now in the Premier League, both ends of the table and in the middle of it. I think the first game we got to talk about with the games, I think, would be to talk about the Spurs-Liverpool game. If we want to get into that.
Mentioned WWE, I would actually love to see Mourinho and Klopp have it out. Like,
definitely.
I think Klopp
takes him every time.
Klopp would slap him up, but Jose
seems like he'd always have 2 managers with him on the side of the ring, though. If he was
Paul Bearer,
Jose's the type of guy to be pissing with blood but still laughing in your face, though, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, big game considering. Well, we may as well mention it now. The result Liverpool just had last week.
Straight in.
I think it puts even more pressure on it. It's a big game, and obviously it's away for Liverpool as well, which I don't know how is going to impact them, but it's a good time to play Liverpool, I think, at the moment. So it's a massive game.
Stinks of a 1-0 Jose, it does. Absolutely stinks of a Kane. 1 goal, park the bus, Jose masterclass. Wicked.
Yeah, they're going to sit right back in these Spurs, I think.
I just want to be sat here on the next episode and be smug thinking about Tottenham winning the league. That's all I'm thinking about. If that's going to happen, they can't lose this game. That's for sure.
Well, with Liverpool's lack of goals lately, and Jose, he is, even if he's at home, he's going to park the bus, isn't he? He's going to park the bus and hopefully get a few chances, a bit like what he did at Anfield. But I fancy Kane or Son to actually take their chances this time.
Yeah, for sure. I think because Jota hasn't returned yet either, I think it goes even more in Spurs' favour, because I think he's the only one that could really pose a threat against the Spurs defence. At the moment, anyway, Mane and Salah are both misfiring. They're not really anywhere to be seen at the moment. So it's going to be a real tough game for Liverpool to really break down that Jose defence, I think, especially at Tottenham Stadium. So I don't know, man. Yeah, I can see it. Even Spurs winning 2-0 if they play their cards right.
Yeah, but you got to look at it. Spurs have been a bit shaky as well in defence this season. The other day, obviously, it was a 1-0 loss to Burnley, just because of a penalty. Don't laugh, Ash. Can't wait till Man United
when was that?
Again. What day are we on? Lockdown's just making all the days blend. Was it on Thursday, wasn't it?
Thursday night.
Bit miserable, but at the end of the day, it's just going through like a bit of bad form at the moment. I think it's going to pick back up again. I mean, loads of teams go for it. At the end of the day, they've won 5 trophies in like the sort of last 2-3 years. They're all fucking shagged out. Let's be fair. The players, they've been absolutely smashing it now for the last couple of seasons, and it's probably just the straws are breaking the camel's back, which is why they're not performing at the moment. And they've had couple of bad losses on a row, so their confidence is going to be knocked, as I mentioned last week. And yeah, I think they just got to get back to, and it's easier said than done, but they just need to get back to winning ways. And if they can beat a team like, I think today is the biggest thing. Obviously, we've got FA Cup, Man United. If we can try and bounce back and get a good win year today, it's definitely going to set us up to beat Spurs this week as well. Then I think that's the only way we can do it. Is if we win today, we'll definitely win at Spurs, I reckon.
It'd definitely be a nice little confidence boost for you boys if you do get the result today. Obviously, I'm hoping you don't. But in terms of the game that we had last week against each other, I don't think it's anywhere near that level of seriousness.
No.
You know, there's not that much really. You know, it's FA Cup. Who cares? I don't. But
if it was Carabao, I'd agree with you. But the FA Cup, I mean, it's like the oldest football competition in the.
I'd like to win, obviously, but I think 3 league points are more important than that at the moment.
It's one of them. The streets would be like FA Cup 2021, bro. Man United, shut the fuck up.
It's one of them. If
you won that.
If you win, you're like, yeah, come on, smashed it. A huge game. If you lose, you go, FA Cup, innit?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'll be saying anyway if Liverpool lose today.
Nate, do you think as a team though you are missing Jota?
I said it last week. I think we are missing Jota at the moment in front. Like I said, he came to the team. He just smashed it straight away, didn't he? Like he fitted in really well, and that's where all the goals come from. Since he's been injured, we've just dropped off a bit.
I don't think anyone expected him to have the impact that.
Oh no, I did
originally.
You
know,
everyone
expected.
You've got Matip back though, haven't you, for Spurs? But then again, defense hasn't really been your problem.
Yeah, that's been pretty good. The other day we only lost a bit because it was a penalty. It obviously was a clear penalty. Alisson dived out and caught his foot, and play like Ashley Barnes is going to be looking for something like that, isn't he? Do you mean?
Yeah, I think it is a massive game though. If Spurs get the result, then they bunny hop you as well, and you drop down into 5th. They'll be 2 points clear of you. So, especially at this point in the season, that's a big point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you lose,
we'd still be above Chelsea, though, wouldn't we? That's all right.
Yes, yeah.
I
think we're going to mention Chelsea. Well,
I thought that was a good pivot move into the next conversation. But
yeah, we'll say that to the end.
You guys lead the way.
I mean, yeah.
What's your prediction, Dave, for the Spurs game?
Spurs.
Yeah.
I don't know. See, like. My full confidence is with them that they can bounce back. So I'd like to think that they get a few goals again, but I don't want to eat my words and just put out like, I don't know, in my head, I'd love to see like a 3-1 or something like that. I mean, a couple of goals, like nice bounce back in the Premier League, beat a top 6 team, or top 4 team rather.
Could be a good game to get you back into the swing of things, couldn't it?
Oh, 100%, yeah. If we get we got a couple of tough games coming up in the next few weeks now, and if we can start off with this, and fucking brilliant. Do you mean? And the confidence be sky high, and they know that they can still beat these like top 4 teams and top 6 teams, and so.
Well, to be fair, you haven't struggled against the top 6. It's been the West Broms, the low end with a low block that you just run out of ideas. You're just trying to whip crosses in and hope people are there. You've beat Chelsea, you beat Spurs, I think you beat Arsenal as well. Drew with Man City. You've done all right against the higher end teams.
It's weird. We do that. Like it was a few seasons ago, probably before Klopp was even in as well. We used to just gift like teams who like in relegation, so we'd fucking lose to them, but we'd smash every other team like in like the top 10 sort of space. And then I don't know, yeah, we just like as if concentration just switches off. We just let them win like 1-0, and just we gift 3 points out to people like fucking Burnley.
I think it's one of those games where if Tottenham win, I think that people are panicking a little bit at Liverpool, but not properly. I think if they were to lose this game, I think there'll be not a panic with. I think we get Jamie Carragher said they could start panicking about whether they're going to get top 4. But then again, I think if Liverpool win this, you'd think, okay, you think they might turn a corner and go on a run.
And that's how compressed the season.
That's exactly what we need.
One win there. People over exaggerate. You lose one game, people are like, oh, they might not get top 4. You win one big game, it's like they're title contenders. And I think it's going to be flip flopping about quite a lot for the next couple of months.
Definitely, because especially when you look at like teams like Leicester, who've been good for 2 seasons now, but you wouldn't necessarily put them in top 4 at the beginning of the season. They go on a mad run, and then they go and they've lost to like Fulham this year and other teams that maybe they should have beaten. So it's just one of those seasons.
Leicester got Everton midweek as well, haven't they?
Yeah, they're doing pretty well as well. Everton can get themselves back, and they're 2 games in hand, and they can go. I think they're on 32 points at the moment.
I see that.
34 is it? I think.
Yeah,
I see that. Everton,
so yeah, do we think they can go up to like in second place or third place? I think they win 2 games.
I think Everton's the type of game that Leicester will lose. They'll smash some teams, and then it's the type of game they'll lose like 1-0 or 2-1. and just like not show up. Vardy's out injured. I think he's having like a
But
surgery.
Everton are out players, though, aren't they? Have they not got
Dominic
Richarlison?
Calvert-Lewin won't be playing.
Isn't Richarlison injured?
I think he's back now.
I think he's back. Yeah, I think Calvert-Lewin's got a hamstring issue though.
Yeah.
So he won't be playing. So
both their main strikers out. It could be.
I still reckon Leicester are going to win that. I can't see them losing or drawing to Everton, especially with their recent performances. They got Maddison firing, they got Harvey Barnes firing. Jamie Vardy's gone quiet recently, but
they're still scoring goals.
But they're still scoring. Like, I think Brendan Rodgers is being really underappreciated in terms of the work that he's done at Leicester. And there's rumours of him looking for a bigger club to manage, which I wouldn't blame him. But the job that he's doing at Leicester, without all of the, he hasn't really been signing big money players. He's just
he's been doing
style of management, and they're so good to watch as well, especially when they're midfielders, and even when Jamie Vardy's quiet, like I said, Harvey Barnes, Tielemans, and James Maddison's come really back into form. I see them beating Everton.
They play so much nicer football than United. I watch them and I can see patterns of play with United. It seems a bit off the cuff a lot of the time, like moments of magic from individual players. Their team, they got nice patterns of play, and I think Rodgers is probably a top 4 manager.
Definitely, I think
in the league.
Yeah,
at the moment, form-wise, he's probably like top 2 or 3.
But, I think obviously Klopp's coming in and done an amazing job at Liverpool, and there's no doubt Klopp's a better manager has been a better Liverpool manager than Rodgers. But
he came close to Rodgers, to be fair.
Like, you can probably support this name if you weren't anywhere near a title run for maybe, I don't know, 5-6 seasons, and then Rodgers gave you that. I think maybe gave a little bit more hope into the team and Liverpool fans. And I know Klopp signed a lot of players, but I think you had spells of Hodgson, Dalglish didn't go well.
Dalglish, he came back,
and then saw Rodgers come in and really put some belief in.
And he's reinventing himself, hasn't he? He obviously didn't get the title for Liverpool. He's gone away up to Scotland. He sort of put the graft in, and now he's back in there.
It'd be a hell of a story if he ends up winning the league with Leicester when he couldn't do it with Liverpool.
Yeah.
And I think
that'd be interesting.
The majority. I think if we had to pick a team out of anyone in the top 8. And it wasn't our own teams, i.e. you guys picking United or Liverpool, we'd probably say Leicester is your second team to win it. So
I wouldn't be against them winning it. I personally kind of like to see that, them winning it again. But with Everton's recent run of form as well, they got that edge win over a very poor Wolves side at the moment. They lost 1-0 to West Ham start of the month. And against this Leicester side, they're too strong at the moment, I think. I'd be very surprised if Leicester don't come away with 3 points.
I fancy Leicester to win that as well.
I think
it's going to be upset Everton. I reckon 1 goal in it.
Nah.
No Vardy.
I think I get what you're saying. I think if you had said at the beginning of the season, I said, oh yeah, there's no Vardy, but with Maddison and Harvey Barnes, I think Leicester have shown that, because Vardy's been playing, but I don't think he's scored for at least a couple of games now. I think they've shown that they've still got goals in other players. But yeah, I mean, we've just talked about Wolves briefly then, having a bit, they've been very, basically since they lost their main striker, they've been very sort of
different team.
It's a massive dip in form as well with them, isn't it? They would play pretty well at the beginning of the season.
I think there's a lot of pressure on their youngster, the Fabio Silva. I think Nunes signed him expecting just to kind of gradually bring him into the team over the next 2 seasons, give him a couple of cup games here and there. But obviously, since Jimenez has been injured, I think he's been forced to play him. And he's just not at that level yet.
He doesn't look strong enough to me as a player.
He's only 18.
It is
he's 18 years old. I think Neto is probably the best player at the moment without Jimenez. But I just don't think the team around him is good enough.
Traore's been pretty quiet this season.
Yeah,
I mean, he had a really good last season, and he's linked to quite a lot of big clubs in the Prem. And I don't know what's happened again.
I think it's a bit up in the air with his contract, or if he's going to go or not, isn't it? I think he's a bit in limbo. And when that's
busy greasing his arms,
just kills all day.
Somebody actually gets someone to put baby oil on his arms.
Yeah, he loves it though. It's always a woman. Whenever he's pictured,
having that
always
job,
a woman greasing him up. Grease me up, woman.
I think they're definitely a team who will be going through a transition probably at the end of this season now. You'd think that the way Chari's played this season, and the unrest, he will probably go potentially at the end of the year. I don't think he's going to go to a big club that he could have had now, but I still think he'll go to a top 6 European club.
It'd be a lot lower fee as well, wouldn't it? They wouldn't get nowhere near as much money for him.
And I think I think you got like Moutinho, who's like sort of on the way out. He's very old. I think
he's good.
He's class, but obviously I think he's 35 now. I think
is he that old? Is he?
I think you might see a bit of a transition with the Wolves team. I think it maybe just gone a little bit stale. Like Jota going to Liverpool, being one of their best players this year, and giving them that injection at the beginning. It's almost like Wolves haven't had that player to sort of reinvigorate the team.
And they lost was it the right back, Doherty?
Yeah, he went to Spurs.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I think Rui Patricio,
the player for them.
The keeper, just hasn't really been as good as he should be.
Yeah.
And obviously Nuno signed Nelson Semedo as well from Barcelona, and I think he's done more bad than good for him at the moment. He's given away, penalties in last minute. I remember he's just throwing away games, and I'm sure that Nelson Semedo will eventually settle in the team, but he's a full back and he's been playing on the right wing behind Traore. But yeah, it's just like you mentioned, it's a big transition period for him, and I think the summer is very important for Wolves in terms of.
I think it'd be interesting to see if the manager stays as well. Just because he's been sought after. I know he's linked with the Arsenal job when they got Arteta. And even though they've had the season this year, I think he still would be wanted by a lot of top clubs. So it'd be interesting to see if he wants to stay and sort of make the changes for the transition, or whether he might end up moving at some point.
It's quite hard to read, isn't he? He's so calm, like winning and losing. He's just he's always quite level-headed. So it would be interesting. They got Wolves, they got Chelsea anyway midweek, haven't they?
They should win that. Let's be fair at the moment. I reckon they got all the chemistry to upset Chelsea again. Chelsea are just full of upsets recently. To them, obviously.
Chelsea at home.
Yeah, I know. They love losing at home as well.
Yeah, if there was a team you wanted to play, a top half team anyway that you wanted to play right now and you're in the low, it would probably be Chelsea. So it'd be interesting to see how that one goes. Another team that, they've tried to go through a transition and it's not really happened with everything that's gone on. Obviously, Luton. They're beating Luton.
Currently 9th, 2 points ahead of Arsenal. And Arsenal was supposedly relegation battle at the start of the season, weren't they?
They had a shocker to start with, but they've pulled it back quite nice as well now, haven't they? Really, they've gone on a bit of good form recently. A few wins.
Beat a couple of smaller teams, but Chelsea, that's
what they need, doing it.
What do you think's wrong at Chelsea? Do you think it's manager? Do you think it's players?
I think what a big thing was at the beginning, they bought so many new players in summer. They just jammed them all straight into the first team, and they've not had time to build up chemistry. Whereas, like most people who will do transfers in summer, you'll have like maybe 3-4 transfers, and you'll integrate them into the team slowly. Whereas Frank just seemed to just absolutely slam these players in, and it just seems like it's not gone well. They looked okay at the beginning, but again, they just dropped off. Like they looked like title contenders right at the beginning, and they had a bit of good form, and then again, I think it just none of it gels. I think that's what's going wrong. Obviously, Kepa didn't help, but they brought in Mendy now, and it's the same situation, really. They're not performing.
I think they played with so much freedom last year because there wasn't any pressure on them, and they had a lot of the players coming through, Mount,
academy players,
and players who've been out on loan and coming in. I don't think. Look, we've seen. I don't. I can't. I'm trying to think now. I don't know when a team has bought so many players in the summer. Like, has it actually paid off? You look like remember when Tottenham bought like 8 players with the Bale money. And some of them ended up being good, but sorry, who did you say?
Aston Villa had quite a few players last year, and they almost got relegated. Back down.
Yeah, and now you're seeing it pay off.
I don't think any big manager, if you said, "Do you want 5 new players?" I don't think anyone would take it because, it's like you said, no way you can sort of slowly ease them in. And because he spent so much money, I think Frank feels like he has to play them over the younger players they were playing last season, and it's just not working at all, is it?
Yeah, I think it's a balance. Like these players came in with such high expectancy on their performance, and I think it's partially down to their performance as well. Like Werner has been shocking. Like, he did great at Leipzig. He had like 74 goals and like 130 games or something. But I think the Premier League is by far the hardest league to settle into if you're coming from, especially mainland Europe, because in the other leagues you've got 3 or 4 teams that will really battle for the title, but the Premier League is so up and down, and like there's so many upsets that it's just so hard to settle into. But like Nate said, there's just no chemistry, and it doesn't help when players like Timo Werner, who you would say is the biggest signing of them all, just has a shocking performance almost every game.
He's their top goal scorer though, and that's what's strange as well.
But
he's their top goal scorer.
How many has he scored?
He's only scored like 4 though, isn't he?
Because I think Giroud has got to be close to him, and in minimal time.
Giroud has to be the top scorer at the moment. But that's another point I had, was that it didn't seem to me that Chelsea needed to make all the signings. Pulisic was playing well. They got Giroud, Tammy Abraham. Yeah, they got rid of Willian and some other players retired, but it didn't feel as though they needed to sign a handful of players, but nowhere near the amount that they actually did. Kepa was a problem. He needed replacement.
But the amount of money they must have lost.
I think Ziyech was probably, for me, the player that I probably would have signed out of all 3 of them.
Cheap as well, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a good bit of business.
Yeah.
But Havertz and Werner, I just think that it was a hype signing.
They just don't look like a team right now, do they? They don't look like a team. They don't really know which runs each player is going to make. It just looks a bit like, I think their starting 11 changes every weekend.
Yeah.
I think they just got to play Giroud through the middle. He's the one who's going to get Frank goals, and I think he's the one who's going to save Frank's job. Havertz or Werner, it usually takes a season for like German or European players to sort of ease into the Premier League. But
I
think stick to what was working last season with Frank.
Well, Werner's even come out and said that he didn't expect the Prem to be as hard as it is. He said it's a lot more physical than what it was in the German league. So
he said that after the first game, didn't he? He said he never seen defenders so tall. I think they played Brighton. I think.
What was you fucking expecting? Like, have you never watched a game on? Like they play him. They play him in the Champions League and things like that. English teams. But I suppose when you're playing like the sort of bottom 10 teams, they are a lot more physical because sometimes they don't rely on the pace and the skill as the teams that are up at the top. So obviously they're jostling quite a bit more for the ball, chucking you about a bit as well. If you're like a small striker, just fucking throw you about in there if you're going to get into the box.
Yeah. Like Ben Chilwell's arguably done well, I think, compared to the rest of their signings.
The only signing you could say is
I think Thiago Silva hasn't done that badly as well. Like,
he had a shocker for a first game, though, didn't he?
Shocker for a first game, but I think he's living up to what is expected of him.
Yeah, as captain, like
35, 36, and when they signed him, I was thinking that's a bad move. He's not going to be able to live with the pace, but he started off well, and I don't think he's playing that bad now. I think it's just the whole team. So he looks a lot worse.
I think he's just bringing that experience to the squad, though. Like he's not going to be there for very long, but I think him and Chilwell are arguably the best 2 signings out of all the business that they did last. Obviously, Ziyech was unfortunate with the injury that he had. He couldn't really have time to settle in properly, and now he's kind of starting all over again. But as well as down to the players, I think the appointment of Lampard was too early for the club because beforehand he was at Derby, didn't get him promoted or anything.
He's
did
got no record, is he?
People say that about Ollie, that he hasn't got any record. Well, Lampard hasn't either. So why does that make that signing okay? Because he's a club legend, and so is Ollie. So they're very similar appointments in that sense.
I think obviously they wanted a manager that would be willing to come in and not have the money. So they couldn't go for, I think, a top tier manager because they wouldn't have wanted the job to go into a club without spending money. And they sort of thought, well, we know that Frank will want it because he's so early in his managerial career. But there's always the risk when with how many legends of football clubs have taken over as manager and not done well.
Yeah.
It's
good players. Good players don't always make good managers, and Frank's still left to see. But do you think what percentage do you really think is sort of Frank and then the players? Because both of them have got to take some type of ownage of the poor form. I think they've 2 wins in the last 6 games in the Premier League.
Yeah, I reckon it's almost half and half. I think it's just a bad combination of time. It was too much too soon. I think for the club, too much happened too quickly. And
I think that's more. It's not more Lampard's fault for the transfers.
It could be the board though, couldn't it? pushing Frank to get these. Say, what players do you want? Get a few new players in, get rid of Deadwood that they thought they had, and you don't really know. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors, really, at the end of the day, do you? Was it Frank pushing for it, or was it like everyone else saying, "Oh, you should get these players in," and influencing Frank to get them in?
On paper, they all look like good signings. Everyone would have taken them at the start of the season, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
I can't really figure out what's happened to Pulisic. Like last season, as a United fan, I was so worried. I was like, he looked like what Hazard was doing a couple of years ago. The runs he was making, the creativity, the goals as well. And is it just bad form?
It kind of just died, didn't it? Like
it's completely gone. I don't even notice him in games anymore. But last season, he was literally running things like Hazard was doing for a good couple of years. So I don't know if that's just because the whole team is just flaccid at the moment.
Best way to describe it, really.
Yeah.
So with regards to the game, the Wolves Chelsea game, how do we all see that going? I'll go. I think that will finish. I think that's got a draw written all over it, and I think that a draw might be the final nail in the coffin. I think that whatever happens this weekend with the FA Cup has no bearing on what happens. And I think if they don't, I think the next time they don't win, unless they go on a win like 5 or 6 games and a little pressure comes off, I think they've got probably Tuchel. I've probably murdered that name, but
Tuchel,
and I think him or Allegri will be like. I think New Chelsea always have a manager already lined up.
Yeah, I think I'm going to butcher name as well. Nagelsmann, the German RB Leipzig manager.
Leipzig, yeah.
I think
he's because he's German. He's been with Werner before as well. But would he leave RB Leipzig in the form that they're in, Champions League? Because Chelsea is so much. Yeah. It's a lot. The manager step up in that job going to Chelsea's.
I don't think he'll go in the middle of the season.
No, not in the middle of the season. No
chance.
I think the reason why I say obviously the other two is because they're out of work. So I think it's likely that they could do Chelsea have done it maybe 3 or 4 times in the last 10, 15 years when they get like a standby manager, the Di Matteo, Avram Grant, Gus Hiddink twice. So they could do something similar again, get someone like that in just to see out the season, win a cup, and then the manager that you said that I'm not going to butcher his name might take over.
But, he's younger than Ronaldo. That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, he's 33, isn't he? I think
33. Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
But he's done a good job there. I mean, he's done wonders over at Leipzig. Good bit of business, that's they're top 4 team now, and
they've got a lot of money behind them. It's not quite the fairy tale story that they want you to believe, but yeah, they've definitely done well.
Chance.
Yeah, in terms of Chelsea Wolves, I think it'll be a draw as well. Wolves toughless up front, Chelsea struggling to all areas. I think draw's a good shout, to be fair.
Yeah, I think it's going to be either a 0-0 or Chelsea might pip it 1-0 because
that's what I'm thinking.
Found it really hard to score as well. Like I said, Fabio Silva is really struggling on his own up top. Another problem with Chelsea, I think, is that even their veteran players aren't really pulling their weight either. Like Kante, especially. Don't know what's happened to him, but he's not the same player as he was even last year, 2 years ago. So I think it's either going to be 0-0 or Chelsea will pip it 1-0.
I'm thinking 1-0 as well, something like that. Like if I was going to bet on it, I'd probably go Chelsea.
Which you probably will.
Yeah, I probably will. and lose more fucking money. Lovely, but that's the fun of it. When we speak about Chelsea, obviously with the pressure of Lampard, it's a lot of rumours flying around as well about like Brendan Rodgers going there. Doing that, Brendan Rodgers did leave Celtic halfway through a season to go to Leicester. He'd fucking do it again. Let's be fair, absolute snake.
I think it'd be a bad time for him to leave Leicester at the moment, though.
He left exactly.
They're pushing. They're pushing.
It is. Sorry, it is a bigger step up.
I know he left his. I know once he got the Liverpool job, he left his missus.
You got to start shagging Scouse birds, like.
And yeah, so loyalty is not. Nah, I'm messing. I like Brendan Rodgers. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, he's a good manager.
In case he listens, I don't want to say anything bad about him.
In case he listens, Brendan, hey, what's happening?
He was that 30th.
Quick shout out to Brendan.
I think if he left Leicester to go to Chelsea, would be a step up, but you'd be an idiot. The things he's got going on at Leicester. He's got a great squad. Not that much pressure, but he's still up there. He could still maybe win the league. Chelsea, instant pressure. Abramovich is ruthless. He's breathing down your neck after one loss. Do you know what I mean?
With that, I'm not trying to. I would say that with that, I think he's got one big, at least only one English big club move left in him. Rodgers, potentially other European club moves, and I don't think Chelsea needs to be that one, because if he goes, he's got his security at Leicester. There's other Premier League big clubs that if he went to, they would probably give him at least 2 seasons to try and do something. With Chelsea, he could lose 4 games in a row and he'd be gone. And then if he doesn't do well with how it went at Liverpool in the end, and if he doesn't do well at Chelsea, it would just be, he'd never get near a top club again. So, Chelsea for Brendan, if it was like a new manager on the up, you can sort of recover like Rodgers has after Liverpool, but I don't think. But there is that link. Obviously, he's been with Chelsea before, so
Yeah,
I think for me, I think Arsenal would be a great club for Rodgers, but I don't think he should go there now. I think that they need to sort of, as such, I think there's so much that needs to be done at Arsenal that Rodgers shouldn't be the one to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Arteta's under more pressure than people think as well. Like he's another one I think that could
definitely.
Basically, obviously they lost against Southampton yesterday in the FA Cup. They got them again on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Again at St Mary's. I can see them losing again, to be honest.
Well, they beat us, they
beat us as well.
Southampton are a good team.
Oh, sorry, Arsenal beat us as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Southampton are a good team. They are a good side, yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think Steve Bruce probably under the coach as well.
He's gone.
Yeah,
Steve Bruce. Yeah, if I had to bet on manager to go next, I think it's going to be Steve Bruce.
This game against Leeds is a big one.
He's lost the fans already. They've already been outing on social media and that.
That happened when he got appointed. I mean, the fans.
He wasn't really a fan favorite from the beginning, was he?
It's all done to Mike Ashley at the end of the day, isn't it? And Mike Ashley probably likes him because he's a bit of a yes man. He'll just do what he says.
It's been a dark cloud around Newcastle since the takeover fell through. Some dodgy stuff has happened. It seemed like the Premier League just didn't allow the takeover, and I think we're still going to hear some stuff about that. But it's just seeped and bled through into this season, and Steve Bruce is cherry on top, really, isn't he?
I think that takeover thing is still being decided in court. I think there's a chance that could be overturned by the High Court, and obviously Rafa leaving his club in China this week has sort of sparked the rumours that potentially the prospective owners think they're going to win the court case and that they're going to get Rafa to come back, which is obviously the main reason why Steve Bruce, all the fans hate Steve Bruce, is because everyone loved Rafa.
Yeah.
And that was their replacement.
90-day difference. Rafa's so organised, and he left the team, organised defence. Everyone knew what they were doing. Steve Bruce, it looks like that work that Rafa's put in has just deteriorated over time now. And
go on, sorry.
I was to say, and I think they're going to get absolutely pumped by Leeds midweek.
Yeah, I think so as well.
It's I think the last time they played, they lost 5-2 to Leeds back in December. And I think Newcastle, the way they play and the way Leeds play, is just easy pickings for Leeds, I think.
You think Leeds are not great defensively, but Newcastle looks so bad going forward that you just don't think, even with Callum Wilson, I feel almost sorry for him because he is a good player, and he just doesn't have the service. And even against that Leeds defense, it's hard to imagine how they're going to break through.
They had St. Maximum come back on yesterday though as well. He's back, so I mean, I guess that brings a little bit of hope back to the fans. Like if he can start regularly again, I think Callum Wilson might get more of that service that he needs.
Yeah.
But again, that's all the pressure on his shoulders then, isn't it? I mean,
Maximin sort of sucks players in, doesn't it, and creates more space for the other players. So that really might help Wilson get a bit of space in the box. But I think it's still too much for them. I think they will lose, and I think Steve Bruce will be sacked by the morning, or even after the game, depending how late the game is.
Who do they get in to replace him?
So you think Steve Bruce will get sacked this week?
Yeah. I reckon they get pumped. I reckon Leeds might put 4-5 into them again.
Yeah, I was thinking it could be a 3 or 4-0.
I personally think Steve Bruce stays the whole season.
I think
They'll
you'll be.
be relegated. They'll be
I
relegated.
think
Yeah, they probably will.
I think they're not in the relegation right now, are they? I think as long as they don't drop into the relegation, he'll be kept. I think if they hover around 16th, 17th, I think, and they look like they're not going to go down, I think they'll keep him and then replace him in the summer. For what Nath was saying about being a yes man to Mike Ashley, I think like they're just happy to have him.
Last 6 games, I think they got just 1 draw in the Prem.
When we said, sorry, I was going to say, when you said hovering around about 16th, they bang on 16th at the moment.
They've lost 4 on the bounce.
Nice.
So they've also got issues, I think.
Oh, mad issues. Yeah.
Be interesting to see what happens with them for sure. Like my last thing to do with the managers, I think David Moyes has gone really under the radar as well. I think he's done a quality job at West Ham.
Amazing job.
Mate, they're 7th place currently. Do you mean?
They're fun to watch as well at the moment. Like they're a good team to watch. They're on the same point as Everton.
Yeah, I rate Lanzini so high as well. He's such a baller.
I don't think he gets enough game time though.
Me neither.
He's quite injury prone.
Souček's been quite good for them this year. Bowen's been amazing. I think Antonio's only just come back, but then he's banged in
straight back in it.
Back-to-back goals now. I think he's definitely just banged in the last 2 games.
Has been great at the back.
But they got 2 defenders as well. Kufal got an assist as well as a clean sheet. So
I always rated Felipe Anderson. I don't know if they loaned him out or sold him. I think he's in either Italian or Spanish league at the moment. But I always rated him. He was such a baller, and then he just disappeared.
I think he's still there. I think he's just on. Is he not on the bench a lot?
I think he's on loan somewhere.
No, he's
might bring him back or
he's on loan to Porto.
Okay.
You're currently Googling that because that's what I was doing.
Because they've also got another. That's the thing they got. They got players that they played. They got Yarmolenko as well, who I think they would have paid a bit of money for. But they got
a lot of money. West Ham's always got quite a decent amount of money. They spend quite a lot as well, especially for like a mid-table team. But yeah, I think because the league's so compressed at the top, these clubs, they are doing well, but because the top clubs are not doing as good as usual, it does make them. It is making it look like they do have an even better season than they are, but it's still good to be fair.
Yeah, definitely. Because we're at Villa now. Villa are, I think, up to 9th, are they now? I think after the win.
Yeah,
they're 8th now, but they were really high, weren't they? So they've sort of been more talked about, definitely more than West Ham. I don't think anyone is actually talking much about West Ham at all.
No,
everyone's
they're going a bit under the radar, aren't they?
Exactly, and I think that will suit them just fine.
They're definitely not in the same position as they were last season, though. I'd say that's a big positive they can take.
Yeah.
And they got Palace this weekend, so you'd think this week I should say. So you wouldn't. I mean, Palace have not been good at all this year in certain games. So you think could get another win there. Thinking about Europa League.
Villa should have gone down because of the goal line
VAR call.
And now they're straight back up there. I think they're quite close to the top or middle table, and they got 2 games in hand. And they could have been in the championship. Do you know what I mean? Just battling out.
If they win the 2 games in hand, they would be 1 point above Liverpool. They'd be 4th.
Well, the other thing as well is that when Corona happened, they were bottom of the league, and their chairman was the one being like, "You cannot relegate us. If you relegate us, give Liverpool the title, we will sue." And it was just like all this, and they're like, mathematically, we can still do it. We got games in hand. So yeah, to be talking about where they are now is just an amazing job by Dean Smith.
Yeah, Ross Barkley's done really good for him. Obviously, Grealish,
Traore's done well as well.
Phenomenal this season.
Traore, El Ghazi's been playing well once he's been making an impact.
And the thing is, Ollie Watkins could have had loads more goals, even though he's done well. He could have had probably easily like maybe 5 or 6 more goals.
Don't mention that name in front of Nathan.
Do you know who's done absolute bits at Villa, and it's got a bit under the radar? And I only know because of fantasy team. Martinez from Arsenal. Yeah, I think he's recruited the most points of fantasy team. But I think he was better than Leno when they brought Martinez in last season when Leno was out injured, and he's been fantastic for them.
He's been great.
And I think they're going for like dirt cheap as well. They cheap couple million.
Yeah,
That
no,
was quite sad.
Arsenal fans
Yeah.
were disappointed when he went.
Yeah.
And I think
but he was at Arsenal for how long? Like 8 years.
And he's barely got any game time, yeah.
Didn't even see the pitch
Yeah.
really, so it was a move for him that he needed, I think.
And fair play to him for get a lot more game time now and actually proving himself, which is good.
Yeah. He's managed 9 clean sheets for Villa and
That's
a second in the whole league. Only Edison's got 10, and that's just one more. So, he's got 2 more clean sheets than McCarthy, who I think gets praised a lot for Southampton. But like I said, if Martinez keeps playing the way he is, and as well as the other players, I reckon they can see them pushing for top 6 towards the end if they carry on the way they are. But we'll see.
if they came top 6 based on who you gave as your top 4 last week, who's not going to be in the top 6?
Who did I give my top 4?
You gave United, City, Liverpool, Leicester. So now you're saying
Arsenal.
Villa and Arsenal. You think will be top 6?
No, I think Villa and Spurs will be top 6.
Yeah.
I reckon Chelsea and Arsenal will miss out on top 6.
Yeah, I think yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
I agree. I'll sign off on that. Right, so Pastor's already said that he thinks that Steve Bruce is going to go this week. It was good to talk about who we think could be the next manager to get sacked or leave. So I presume you don't think anyone's going to get sacked before Bruce, do you, Pasha?
No, I don't think so. I think Bruce is pretty much done. And like the hot seat for managers under pressure is changing all the time. Obviously, we've had Ollie, Arteta, Frank, and now Steve Bruce is sort of there, I think, first in place at the moment. But I think it is going to be changing all the time. But yeah, Steve Bruce gone already, 100%.
Yeah. I think if I had a bet on it, I'd say he'd be the next one to go. But I generally do think they'll keep him to the end of the season.
So do you think he's going to go?
I don't. It's like it's hard to say. Do you mean like? I think in terms of I feel like he would be next to go logically, but I think they just keep him anyway. Do you mean?
I think they can.
It's bad. Take that.
I think they can. They look like they're going to get relegated already. And what do? You sort of sack a manager to try and get some type of new honeymoon period, new manager bounce, even if it's like a step in. And I think they'll need that little lift just to, they might not get relegated because the bottom 3 are so bad. Like Sheffield, they're terrible.
This season,
yeah, Fulham picked up a bit of form, but Newcastle, honestly, they're on the way down there. And that's why I think sacking him around this time of, halfway through the season could just get him a couple of wins and just keep them at their heads above water.
I mean, so you're saying Steve Bruce, but you're not saying Steve Bruce, Nath. Is that your answer to who you think the next manager is going to be?
No, I think he'd stay to the end of the season.
So £10 on a manager. I know you're not a betting man. Who would you put?
That's what I'm not a good betting man. That's a problem.
Who would you put? You got to put £10 on. You can't put £10 on and then take it back. So you got to put £10 on a manager to go next. Who do you think's going?
Oh, countdown. Where's the countdown music?
The tense.
Okay, I'll go Frank Lampard because I reckon it'd be better odds.
I agree. I put £10 on Frank Lampard going. I think obviously Arteta, as I mentioned, he's close to it, but I think with the business he's trying to do this month with bringing in Odegaard, and he's also linked to a couple of other players, I think he's been given the freedom to try and improve the situation. Whereas Lampard, I think he's all out of options.
And I almost feel like above him.
Abramovich, he's ruthless.
Yeah, that's what my thinking is behind it. It's just because of like the pressure of the Chelsea job is probably a lot more. It's a lot higher. Sorry, than being in the Arsenal job.
Arsenal fans know they shit at the moment.
I suppose the question
they're
is
accepting it.
I suppose the question is: does Frank's legendary status sit by him more time than it already has? Because I think Chelsea fans, you are like proper Chelsea fans. I think they want him to stay. Yeah. They love Frank Lampard so much they want him to stay.
But Di Matteo won the Champions League and was a legend for Chelsea, and he was sacked. He was sacked in September, October.
True. But he's nothing on Frank though, is he? Frank's probably Chelsea. Him and John Terry. I think he's higher than John Terry. Probably Chelsea's biggest legend ever at the club player.
I know, but I'm just saying that I don't think Abramovich will care. I think for me, I think Frank Lampard will be gone. I think, like you're saying, if we're saying bold predictions with Steve Bruce, I think Frank could go by the end of this week.
He loses this week.
I think if he draws this week, I think with Arteta, I feel like he's been through the worst of it, and like the pressure that was on him. I feel like if Arsenal were going to pull the trigger, they would have done it. I feel like
absolutely.
I think Lampard's in that. I don't think he's quite hit the issues that Arsenal were in, but I feel like one more bad game and they are there. And I think they pull it.
Then again, what you've seen from this season is if you do sort of weigh out a little bit, and I know Chelsea never do this, like with Ollie, people were thinking, Potter's coming now. We got slapped by Spurs. But if you do give them a bit of time, with this season, the way it goes, they can turn around a bit. Arteta, it looked like he was doing that, but now it looks like he might be sort of being a bit stale again.
The issue with that is that Lampard is not a manager who has this record or this. You can go and say he's won this and won that as a manager. So it's like, even if they got through the season and come fifth, with the players they have, do they trust him to actually implement a plan next year to be title challengers?
And it's the money they spent as well. Was it 200? Was it 250? 220 mil? You got
It's a lot of money. Bit of cheddar, though. But with Lampard, do you think they obviously just because he was a Chelsea legend, they brought him in? He didn't really have any pedigree in managing beforehand. I think he could have, gone somewhere for somewhere like a smaller team. Like how Gerrard's gone to Rangers.
I was going to say Gerrard's doing the right thing.
He smashed it. Well, he's smashing it currently up at Rangers, and that does put him in pole position. And when Klopp does step down at the end of his contract, it is likely that Gerrard will come in because he's had the time and practice with. Do you mean like a team that's? It's got. I wouldn't want to say it's Scottish League. So not as highly competitive as like somewhere like the Prem.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think if Lampard got a bit more experience and came in 2 or 3 years' time, it'd be a different story. I think, but
he's sort of cheated, isn't he? Do you know what I mean it's similar with Ollie? Sometimes these players just sort of cheat their way to the top. They haven't taken like the long career manager path, where they've been like grinding out in Scotland. Brendan Rodgers had to go back and do that. You sort of sometimes need a step back to take a step forward with the managers, and Brendan Rodgers is sort of like proven example of that.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think Lampard could do with more championship experience, pushing for that promotion. Championship is hard, but that's where you learn the most, I think. There's a lot of managers. I know I'm going to use Graham Potter as a example, but obviously as a Swans fan, he went from the Swans to Brighton, and obviously they're going a little bit through the motions at the moment. But having that experience, and he did have it with Derby, but not enough. I think there needed to be more for it to warrant a job like Chelsea.
Didn't he bottle like promotion?
Yeah, they lost in the playoffs,
didn't they?
It's not like they won the league, and you're like, I think it's hard. That's
they lost to Leeds as well, didn't they? I think they lost to Leeds.
No, they lost. No, they beat Leeds in the semis because there was the whole controversy in the season, and then Derby got them over. But the issue as well with Frank is now that he's gone to Chelsea is like where he ends up after this is like, does he go to a championship club? Because that'll be hard for him to go to a club like Chelsea and then to have to go back down. I wouldn't.
At least he'd be able to watch a striker that can actually finish. Like, it'd be a nice story. Be nice for him.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, I think Lampard's next to go.
And I agree. So that's three for Lampard, 1 for Steve Bruce. And we can see next week, we can see who's gone or who stayed. So yeah, last week we talked about the players that we think have got to go. As it is the January transfer window. And, with 1 week left to go of the window, it'd be nice to talk about maybe moves we'd like to see join our clubs. I'm not really going to talk about that because I'd take any player at Bolton. But, yeah, just having a real talk about what we expect to maybe see in the next week, movement-wise. A lot of gossip happening at the moment. And,
there's a lot of gossip, but not much movement.
Yeah.
At the moment. It's
exactly.
COVID market, isn't it?
very stale at the moment. Obviously, the biggest one for the Premier League is Odegaard to
from
Arsenal. And to be honest, I don't know how that's going to impact them. I don't know enough about him as a player.
Any type of creativity is a good thing at Arsenal at the moment because they've got nothing. They've literally got nothing. They've sorted out the defence a bit, but no. I think Odegaard could bring some freshness. I would be lying if I said I watched him every week. I think I've watched one montage of him when he was 15. And
that's the last time I saw any play.
and I've been following his career very closely since.
You got
an Eminem song over the top of it, like
lose yourself, lovely.
I think I don't think it can go bad. It's only for a couple of months.
Yeah, it's a really short one, isn't it? 6 months.
Yeah, because there was talk of him going there or back to Sociedad, which is where Real Madrid picked him up from, right?
No.
Yeah, and
they're the two clubs that are into him.
I think it's almost done. Fabrizio's been saying it's like
king.
Yeah, when Fabrizio says it looks like it's definitely going to happen.
He's a number 10 though, right?
Yeah.
No idea. No, I think
attacking
midfielder.
I was going to say, he didn't come from Real Sociedad. He went on loan to Sociedad from Real Madrid.
Yeah, that's what Jack said.
That's what he said. That's where he came from.
No, yeah, I thought he came from Sociedad.
Did he not come from like Molde?
No.
Norwegian club or something.
It's Norwegian. He is Norwegian. He did come from Norwegian. I'm not.
He's Swedish, isn't he?
No,
he's Swedish. He's played with Zlatan on.
No, he's Norwegian. He's Norwegian. Plays a bit for Norwegian. But maybe he's Swedish in him, and that's
I think he played.
There's the TikTok this week.
I think he played for Norway. He played for mate. He played for Norway when he was like Norway's youngest ever player. I think he played when he was 15 or 16.
Yeah, I don't think he's Swedish.
And he's doing
like nice and Pash.
I've loaned him on FIFA 18, 19.
Guys, I told you I've been following his career since that montage on YouTube.
His first team was a team called Strømgodset.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The accepted
Godset, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to watch him, but I just don't want another player to come into the Premier League that hasn't played before just to flop again. Like in the past 18 months, apart from Jota, the difference there was he came from internal Premier League. Apart from Bruno, I think everyone else has flopped. There hasn't been a massive impact signing.
I don't know by flop. I think Bruno's been the biggest impact. I don't think anyone can doubt that. Like obviously the fortunes he managed to turn around, but I mean, how would you rate James Rodriguez so far? Probably done well.
Started off well. Yeah,
I think he's done well. He's improved them. He's influential for him. So I wouldn't say that he's been a flop.
No, I think he's done well. He was out injured for a bit, but yeah, when he first came in, it was nice to see. I've always liked him, and he's got like a wand of a left foot. So it's just nice to see him in the Prem. Spices things up a bit rather than watching Everton and the midfield's just a bit dry. You got James Rodriguez in there, so I'd actually watch Everton if they're on TV now.
Arguably, though, he's still not their main star. He is technically in terms of a name, but he's not been their best performer.
Calvert-Lewin, isn't it? All day at the moment.
Yeah, all day. So
I like Allen as well, though. I think Allen's been a great signing for him.
Yeah, Allen's been big.
But then you got players like Thomas Partey.
Højbjerg, was he last summer? He's been unbelievable. He's been great. So that's quite a big one for transfers to come in this season.
I think it's with how this conversation's gone far, it's like attacking players have been the biggest letdown. You look at Bale, hasn't really hit any heights at all.
No.
Bale's a weird one.
He's been injured most of the time, hasn't he?
Bale's weird one. I think, he hasn't really been getting the game time and he doesn't suit Jose's style. But you know what? If he turns up for 5 minutes in the Carabao Cup final against City and bangs a free kick in, he's done what he'd be like people be calling him a legend again, saying he's had a class season. One free kick, bring him on the last 5 minutes, bam, top corner.
Yeah, the main reason why I like to see Bale come back was he's, arguably going to get more game time for the Euro in preparation for the Euros. That's a big positive for me in terms of the Wales squad. But I don't think he's played as much as I would have expected. Obviously, he's had few knocks as well. He's been injured. He's had some minor injuries, but with a player like Bale, it's not as if it's a bad thing to have him around in your club. Do you know what I mean? Like it's...
No. I think as well, you see him laughing and joking. If you'd like to think that he's probably been very good for the dressing room, even if he hasn't had the impact on the season yet. But then, like you've said, Pash, you wouldn't be surprised if the second half of the season he could, if he helps Spurs have a title charge, which they're going to have, trust me. Then like you said, he could become a legend, especially if they win a cup. And it'll be.
He is already a legend, but he could become a bigger legend. Couldn't he?
Yeah. In terms of the more transfers, though, I think if I had to pick anything for United, I would like a backup right back.
Interesting.
I would like, because I think Wan-Bissaka's being played out of his skin, and because of that, he has some worldy games, and then other times not quite to the standard that we'd want him to be. So I think to have more rotation like we've got on the left side would be beneficial for United. I would love to get a player like, we've been linked to Upamecano. I think he'd be quality for us. I don't think that'll happen in January, though.
We've also been linked actually to. Yeah, I'm glad you said, isn't it? Yeah, that's. But he's centre back anyway. So
yeah, he's centre back. Yeah, but that was just
right. I think we meant putting him right back. Yeah, again, he's a big, strong bloke.
That's the thing. I don't think we've been linked to a particular right back, but I would like to see one.
Who I'd like to see at right back, and I think it'd be an easy January buy, and I think it would up Wan-Bissaka's game, and he'd be class. Lamptey, yeah, he looks great, man. I think he was at Chelsea, maybe under 18s team, but he just looks good going forward. He looks decent going back as well. I think that'll be a class young player to bring in for cheap in January. Wan-Bissaka looks. It wouldn't be sort of breaking the bank, would it? Wan-Bissaka looks like he's just too comfy at the moment, and we've seen like now with Luke Shaw, with Telles in the team, he's upped his game just because he knows his competition. He's got to put a shift in. So yeah, I'd agree, because we're not going to get like a Sancho or Upamecano, are we, in January?
No. I think forwards wise, I wouldn't expect us to make anything else. Like we signed up the young Uruguayan Pellistri, who I think is rumored to go out on loan. But we also got that Amad Diallo who's arrived now, and there was rumours that he would be involved in today's game. Well, lineups are coming out in half hour, but I can't remember if he was included in the squad that was announced yesterday, Pash. I don't know if you saw him in there. That Diallo.
I think that we were talking about he was going to, but I think they pulled him from the squad now.
Right. I think because we haven't seen him yet, he's got a lot of hype around him, and again, I don't want him to put so much pressure on him. But I think forwards wise, I think Sancho's out of the picture. So summer wise, I'd like to get Grealish, to be honest. I think Grealish, I'd like to hunt him down eventually. But I think for now, priorities right back, and maybe a centre back, a cheap one if we can't get Upamecano, just something to give the rotation options a bit more freedom.
I think with United as well, forward wise, Cavani has been great.
Incredible. I love it.
But he is obviously not a long term fix. Martial has been. I mean, I feel like the hype that when he was bought maybe 4 or 5 seasons ago now, it's almost like you are waiting for him to really.
Last season,
his time must be close, Yeah,
last season was great, but I'm worried about Martial will be one of those players where the next manager will sell him or something like that, and then he'll go on to another club and he'll be an absolute baller. He'll go to Italian league and he'll be running for the Ballon d'Or or something stupid like that. Speaking about Cavani, he's very injury prone, so I don't think he's not going to be playing every game. But just looking at his movement and that, you could tell he's just another level compared to.
He's like a Giroud for me. Like he's just a proper striker. Yeah. And I love having him on the squad. But obviously, we've got him until the end of next season, and I'm going to be talking through my ass here. But I would love at the end of next season, if we are going to let go of Martial, especially, to go for Haaland again. Because obviously we were linked to him before. And I think if we got him when we originally linked to him, because obviously there was all the talks between the link between him and Ole, I think we'd be running away at the moment, because it's the final touches that we are lacking, and the finishing when Cavani's not playing.
He's ice cold, isn't he? But what I'm worried about, the same as sort of probably Nathan is. I'm worried Haaland's going to go to Liverpool with Klopp with that Dortmund connection. So, I mean, he's basically, you know, their god over there. And if he just speaks to the board and says, you know, sort out a deal, I think Haaland would fit in Liverpool perfect as well. Would imagine Mane and Salah next to him.
Yeah,
that'll be scary. I think any team that Haaland goes to, he's probably the best up-and-coming striker. I'd be quite surprised if Bayern didn't go in for him, because they love Robin Dortmund players, don't they? And Lewandowski on, you know, coming up to the end of his career.
You say that, and he's banging in more goals than he ever has.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it? Like, there's quite a few players now, but they're getting older of age, and they're still, you know, even playing better than what they did when they were younger. Like people like Zlatan. Zlatan's like still banging in goals for AC Milan.
He's like 38. Isn't he?
He's currently top goal scorer, isn't he, in Serie A? So, and yeah, it's mad. It's crazy.
I think just last thing on United, I think the Sancho train's gone. I don't know. We'll probably be linked to him again in the summer, because that's what the media love to do. But I don't think it will eventually get him. So long term, I want to see Grealish and even Haaland. I'd love to see him come to United. I think then with some defensive support, we'd be in a good position. But that's just me wishing for the best, really.
I think for Liverpool, obviously, I don't know if they'll actually buy anything, but a centre back is definitely worth investing in at the moment, especially if we're not going to be playing like the younger boys in that position.
Klopp sort of said you're not going to get any signings, isn't he?
He's pretty much hinted saying that we're not going to get anything.
He's out in the board, which not many managers do, but he's in a good position to do that, really, isn't he? Because he's just won Prem and the Champions League, but he's basically saying the board's not getting me any players, which is interesting, because they definitely need to, centre back wise, if he was going to try and make a fight for the title this season.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think just because, like I said, we've got everyone's injury prone. You know, Matip's one tackle away from being out for a few weeks again. Gomez he's the same. When he comes back, he'll perform, and then just one bad tackle or muscle injury, he's out again for weeks and months. Van Dijk, obviously, freak accident in the match. That's just time. Hopefully, he'll be strong again when he comes back, and it won't cause him too many injury problems in future. But yeah, you know, we're still playing Fabinho at the back, where we could do with him in midfield, really. Like, we should ideally, like I said, get a centre back in now in summer, just someone decent. Like I said, but how do we say it? Upamecano.
Supposedly Bayern want him, though. When Bayern want someone, they get him. So I think it looks like he's going to go there. It looks like Alaba is going to go Real Madrid. So these big centre backs, they're going to be going to. I think going to be going to other clubs pretty quick.
You say that about Alaba, but I've been reading today that Barcelona are going in for him. They reckon they'll get him in summer, as well as Sergio Aguero from the Prem, which would be.
Oh wow!
But I don't get what with Barcelona would do that. You know, they got rid of Luis Suarez, and I assumed at the time that was mostly based on age, or I don't attitude, maybe with Ronald Koeman. And then, you know, Sergio Aguero is 32. Why would Barcelona be linked with him when Luis Suarez is only 34? So that's
Barcelona some mad shit at the moment, though, isn't they?
I think they just take whatever they can get because they're in so much financial trouble. So if they can get fucking free signings of like quality players who've done it for years, may as well do it just to steady the ship until they get a bit financially better again.
They've been run worse than Man United. Like, I think Man United have run pretty poor. They're getting better in the last couple of years, but Barcelona, they've been run terrible. I mean, like the players they bought for like over 100 mil: Griezmann, Dembele, Coutinho. None of them were worked out, and they just absolutely chucked money at them. Yeah, it's mad.
Yeah, it's mad. Are there any other players rumoured into the Premier League in January?
So James
not into the Prem.
James, any local farmers signing for Bolton?
Probably.
Any Spa cashiers?
I saw a decent transfer today, which would be interesting. I can't see it happening, but Ings potentially going to, I don't know why I said Everton or Leicester. I can't ever see him going to Everton, obviously, because he played for Liverpool. I don't think he'd do that, but it'd be interesting if he did go to Leicester.
I gotta be honest, I'm surprised that these bigger clubs are going in for him.
I think he's a good player.
He's top class talent.
He's a great player, but
he's made a wet tissue, isn't he?
Yeah, he's made of glass, and that is part of him. So I don't see.
Well, we got rid of
think,
him 'cause
though,
he just
I
sat on the
think-
bench for years.
I think he could go to a big club and be
The
their
Bolton
reserve,
Wanderers.
be their reserve striker. But I think if he went to Leicester, he would be the Vardy replacement. And because of what you're saying with the injuries, I don't know if he would be able to play that role. I think it's interesting you said Leicester and Everton, because I saw a rumor of him linked with Spurs this weekend.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
Which I don't know. I don't think that will happen this January. Maybe in the summer, but because
He
Tottenham
won't be getting much game time with Kane and Vinicius in the
Well,
squad.
that's what I mean. I think right now they don't need a backup striker, but they might. Vinicius and Bale are only on loan, so they might need some forwards
True.
in for next season. But obviously, Kane's going to be starting every game, without doubt.
If I was Ings, I'd stay at Southampton. Stay at Southampton for a bit. You know, he's no longer been there, is he? And he's doing really well. Southampton, it's not like they're in the runnings of things. They're quite high up in the table for them.
10, currently 10.
I think as a player though, you want to win. You want to win as much as you can, and he's at that age where he needs to go in the next. If not this, like in this summer, it would have to be next summer, but that might be too late because he'd be touching 30.
Getting
so
on a bit,
I think I think as a player, it's very easy for us to be like, oh, you're scoring goals, you're getting paid all right, but I think he's going to want to win stuff, and if a club does come in for him, I could see him going to Leicester. I think that would be a really good move. But like Jack says, the injuries is the problem with Danny Ings, because he's even been injured this season, and this has been like one of his most consistent seasons, but he's still missed games.
Been better recovery though, like whereas he had long-term injuries at Liverpool, with Southampton. He has had some injuries since he's been back there, but he's been quite quick to recover these days. So I don't know if that's just. I don't know what they're doing different. Maybe just how Southampton just got better medical. Maybe the Liverpool, or just maybe the injury that he did have pre-existing with Liverpool has just gone away and it's just smaller, muscle injuries or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, was there any other transfers that we wanted to get into?
I think that's pretty sweet.
All right. Well, I think we've talked about a lot of few things. I think we couldn't do this second episode without mentioning that Nathan Ake does not count. He's not an English player, but he is. My point from the first episode was that he qualifies as my point was making that City wants to sign players who qualify for the quota. Nathan Ake was brought through the Chelsea academy, so he does count as that. That's all I have to say on the matter. Jack, I look forward to you clipping this bit up.
Yeah. Well, I quoted you, Tez. You said Man City love signing bang average English players.
Yes, and he's not English, but what I meant, but in the sentence before, I said they like to meet the quota, and Pashy's laughing like, "Oh, James, you make such good points." And
I've just realised Odegaard. I just realised Odegaard. Yeah, he's not Swedish. He's not
Swedish.
I know.
I'm sure I've seen him play with Zlatan. I don't know if that was just in my dreams or what was going on.
But we need to go on like a geography lesson or something, or just research where these people are from.
Well, at least you said it.
I was going to say, while we're going back on things that were said last week, I'm just going to fucking put it out there as well. Ozil still hasn't been confirmed for fair.
Yes.
Yeah, he has.
You haven't fucking been confirmed. It's going to be confirmed on Monday. And what that's tomorrow, actually.
Right, Transfer News Live on Twitter. Arsenal have confirmed midfielder Mesut Ozil has now left the club.
When was that?
An hour
ago.
When was
that? Fuck you, man. So I stand by it today.
Sorry, these are just things to improve on. Do you know what I mean? We're not
going to know. We're just learning as we go, and we're going to keep learning. Make sure you stay tuned in. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, Twitter, Instagram. Get on TikTok. We're TikTok stars. Well, Jack is definitely not Pasha. And this has been the Top 4 podcast. Leave us a like and a comment, and we'll be here very, very soon again. Nice one, boys.
Peace.
Peace.